Hello everyone, I am Charlie Tolhurst and welcome to a very special YouTube video today, and welcome to a video that a lot of people have been waiting for a long time, and that is my reaction to Boris Johnson's lockdown easing roadmap here in Britain. Now, a lot of people have been really looking forward to this. When can we see the restrictions being eased? When is things going to reopen? I have a list here of what was announced in Parliament yesterday, on the 22nd of Feb. Lots to talk about with this roadmap. I'm going to go over some of the restrictions in different stages. So firstly, on step 1, which will take place from the 8th of March, all schools in England will reopen, and after-school sports clubs, such as outdoor after-school sports clubs and breakfast clubs, can resume once again. And also, you will be able to meet one person from outside your household to do recreational outdoors. That, of course, will be one person from outside your household. You can meet up for them. You can have a picnic in the park. You can have a coffee in the park. Provided, of course, that you follow the social distancing with schools. I will do a separate video on that, but you will have to have twice weekly testing for COVID-19 will be issued on schools. And face masks will be mandatory in classrooms, or face coverings will be mandatory in classrooms and also in communal areas in schools for the rest of the term. That's in secondary schools, by the way, not primary. They're going to be exempt. Secondary schools and colleges across England will have to wear face coverings in classrooms until the end of term. If you're exempt, you won't have to follow this rule. But I advise you to try and cover your face wherever you can to try and limit the spread of COVID-19. And also, on step 1, part A, you can nominate a visitor to go and visit a care home. Care homes will be allowed to have one nominated visitor. They must have a negative COVID-19 test before they can enter the premises, and they will be able to wear PPE and hold hands with a loved one. This is such a great move by the government. Care homes have been really forgotten about during this pandemic, and it's really important that many people especially our grandparents, are really looked out for. It's such an important step. So that's step 1A. Step 2 will take place, or step 1B actually. There's another part which will be from the 29th of March. The rule of 6 or 2 households will be allowed to meet outside. So you can gather outside from the 29th of March with either the rule of 6 or you can meet up with 2 households. Please note again though that social distancing has to be used when you meet up. That can be in a public park. Rule of 6 will only be applied outdoors. It's still going to be banned indoors. And also in step 1B, outdoor sports can also resume as well. And also sports such as golf and tennis can also resume from the 29th of March. Then step 2, which will take place no earlier than the 12th of April. This is a step that opens up most of the industry in not hospitality, but non-essential retail can reopen, such as those of clothing and electronic stores. And of course, a lot of people want to wait for this. Hairdressers and nail salons can also reopen. I know a lot of people have been wanting to get haircuts for a long time. I'm sure a lot of people now will find that news welcome. So that will reopen on the 12th of April, no earlier than the 12th of April, just to say, of course, depending on the data. If all goes well, we'll also see the reopen of holiday lets and larger hotels as well. So potentially staycations could be on from that date, but of course only single households will be allowed to use them. And just also as well, outdoor hospitality will be allowed to reopen, which includes beer gardens, in pubs, bars and restaurants, and outdoor dining can be allowed. And also theme parks will be allowed to reopen, including the likes of Chessington World Adventures and Thorpe Park are listed as a couple of theme parks there that can reopen. Now we're going to move on to step 3, and this will take place no earlier than the 17th of May as well. Just to let you know, university students can also go back unless they're doing practical work, but that should take place no later than Easter. Now, though, it's time for the Prime Minister's roadmap in step 3 of the roadmap. And this is going to be where we're going to be seeing more of that. Just to let you know, guys, in step 2 as well, gyms will be allowed to reopen. Now, if all goes well, Step 3 could take place no earlier than the 17th of May if all goes well. And this will include outdoors. Most social contact rules will be lifted, although gatherings of over 30 people will remain illegal. Outdoor performances such as outdoor cinemas, outdoor theatres and outdoor cinemas can reopen. Indoors, the rule of 6 or 2 households will still apply, although we will keep this under review and we'll change it whether it's safe to be increased. Indoor hospitality such as pubs, bars or restaurants will be allowed to reopen. Larger performances and sporting events in indoor venues with a capacity of 1,000 people or half full, whichever is low, will be allowed. And also pilot testing will be allowed as well, and we're using lateral flow COVID tests. In the largest outdoor seated venues, they can have 10,000 people, and up to 30 people will be able to attend weddings, receptions and wakes. And the hope is by step 4, no earlier than the 21st of June, it is hoped that all legal limits on social contact can be removed. We hope to reopen nightclubs and lift restrictions on large events, and performances apply in step 3. However, though, that is again subjected to that news as well. And of course, there will be more news on that as well. And potentially nightclubs could reopen with COVID-19 testing. So the Prime Minister there announcing that the other day. Obviously, a lot of news on businesses. It is going to be a long wait for some of them. I know many people are really struggling right now with financial support. I know a lot of people are really struggling. Just in general, that it is going to be a huge risk that many businesses will be shut down. But it's all about keeping ourselves safe during these difficult times. So I'm now going to play for you a video from the Prime Minister Boris Johnson on his lockdown easing roadmap here in England. Have a listen to this as the Prime Minister addresses the House of Commons on the lockdown easing here in England. Have a listen to Boris. Here is the Prime Minister Boris Johnson speaking in the House of Commons on the 22nd of February. Right now, Boris Johnson speaking in the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, all the evidence shows that classrooms are the best places for our young people to be, and that's why I've always said that schools would be the last to close and the first to reopen. And based on our assessment of the current data against the 4 tests, I can tell the House that 2 weeks from today, pupils and students in all schools and further education settings can safely return to face-to-face teaching, supported by twice-weekly testing of secondary school and college pupils. From the 8th of March, people will also be able to meet one person from outside their household for outdoor recreation such as a coffee on a bench or a picnic in a park, in addition to exercise. But we're advising the clinically extremely vulnerable to shield at least until the end of March. Step 2 will begin at least 5 weeks after the beginning of step 1 and no earlier than the 12th of April, with an announcement at least 7 days in advance. If analysis of the latest data against the 4 tests requires a delay, then this and subsequent steps will also be delayed to maintain the 5-week gap. In step 2, non-essential retail will reopen, as will personal care, including hairdressers, I'm glad to say, and nail salons. Indoor leisure facilities such as gyms will reopen, as will holiday lets, but only for use by individuals or household groups. We will begin to reopen our pubs and restaurants outdoors, and honourable members will be relieved there will be no curfew and the Scotch egg debate will be over, because there will be no requirement for alcohol to be accompanied by a substantial meal. Step 3 will begin no earlier than the 17th of May. Provided the data satisfies the 4 tests, most restrictions on meetings outdoors will be lifted, subject to a limit of 30, and this is the point when you will be able to see your friends and family indoors, subject to the Rule 6 or the meeting of 2 households. We will also reopen pubs and restaurants indoors, along with cinemas and children's play areas, hotels, hostels and B&Bs, theatres and concert halls will reopen their doors. And the turnstiles of our sports stadia will once again rotate, subject in all cases to capacity limits depending on the size of the venue. There will be many people who will be worried that we are being too ambitious and that it is arrogant to impose any kind of plan upon a virus. And I agree that we must always be humble in the face of nature and we must be cautious. But I really also believe that the vaccination programme has dramatically changed the odds in our favour, and it is on that basis that we can now proceed. And of course, Mr. Speaker, there will be others who will believe that we could go faster on the basis of that vaccination programme. And I understand their feelings, and I sympathise very much with the exhaustion and the stress that people are experiencing and the businesses are experiencing after so long in lockdown. But to them, and to them all, I say that today the end really is in sight, Mr. Speaker. And a wretched year will give way to a spring and a summer that will be very different and incomparably better than the picture we see around us today. And in that spirit, Mr. Speaker, I commend this statement to the House.
Thank you there to the Prime Minister Boris Johnson for announcing the lockdown roadmap in the Parliament yesterday on the 22nd of February. What did we get from that announcement? Well, I'm sure hopefully Formula 1, the British Grand Prix, will be going ahead with fans this year. Let's hope so. The lockdown roadmap has certainly given a boost to outdoor sport. I hope to see Mercedes or Ferrari there. Let's hope so. Lewis Hamilton, of course, winning a race last year without fans. It was quite crazy. But obviously, that should be a boost for motorsport, hopefully, to get fans back in. Let's hope in June. But obviously, reacting to the rest of the announcement, yeah, it is going to be a while before most of the hospitality is going to reopen indoors. A lot of strain. Some businesses are going to struggle. The furlough scheme will hopefully be extended. I'm hoping the Chancellor Rishi Sunak will announce that in next week's budget, potentially as well, with the extension of the furlough scheme. And the Prime Minister also mentioned to those who are extremely clinically vulnerable, so those people who are at higher risk of having severe disease from COVID-19, people who have got like conditions in like their lungs or their people who've got heart conditions, those who are at higher risk from COVID-19 for serious complications of COVID-19, they'll be asked to continue to shield until the end of March. The hope is that after the end of March, they will be able to enjoy going outside and of course having more of their freedoms. But of course, it's vital to all those who are in the top 9 priority groups that you get your vaccine. It is really important that if you get your vaccine, you will protect the NHS and you will stop many people going to hospital with severe disease of COVID-19. It will protect you from getting severe disease and it will protect the hospitals from having more patients. So it's very, very important. And I know there was a lot of Tory MPs, like the COVID Recovery Group, led by Steve Baker and of course Mark Carper and Desmond Swain, that were pushing for this lockdown easing to go a little bit more rapidly. But it seems like the Prime Minister Boris Johnson is taking a cautious approach. But we'll wait and see. I know the lockdown is going to go on for a little while yet, and I know there's still going to be some difficult weeks ahead. But the hope is there is the pasture of sunlight that is coming up. There is hope on the horizon. Many people could be reunited with their families very, very soon. And of course, the Prime Minister did mention the 4 tests that have to be met first before the lockdown can be lifted in different stages. That is the vaccination rollout is going well. The number of daily deaths continue to fall. And just in general, as well, new variants that can't potentially evade the vaccine. So it's got to be done very cautiously. But the Prime Minister is confident. And I'm sure many people will feel very reassured and satisfied after that announcement. There will be some people that will be left a little bit concerned about their businesses, about their potential futures in employment. I know employability is a very important part of this pandemic. There's many people out there that have lost their jobs. I know recruitment's a big issue at the moment. I know a lot of people are trying to get jobs but are really struggling to get into different sectors because of the restrictions. But just in general, guys, I really hope that everyone can now pull together. Let's all follow the rules. Of course, the stay-at-home order will be lifted at the end of March. You've got to stay local. And of course, let's hope, guys, that we will be getting back to some kind of normality soon. At the moment, though, we just have to keep following the rules. We have to keep our heads down and just go with the flow. But all I can say, guys, is that we just need to stay positive and there will be brighter times ahead. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. If you would like to like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel, please do on the icon above. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Goodbye.